Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive
Okay.
into a topic that I think is on the minds of a lot of business leaders,
Yeah.
um, knowing when to call it quits
Yeah.
on an AI project.
For sure.
And we've got a great article to help us navigate this sort of tricky terrain.
Right.
It's from InfoWorld. It's by Grant Gross.
Okay.
When is the right time to dump an AI project?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So imagine
It's tight.
pouring tons of resources into an AI project,
Yeah.
only to watch it
Total.
fizzle.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
not a good feeling.
Not at all.
So we're going to try to extract
Yeah.
the wisdom from this article
Yes.
so that you can make smarter AI decisions.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
AI, it's got enormous potential.
Right.
But there are also huge risks if things go south.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that this article doesn't shy away from talking about how much failure can cost.
Mm.
We're talking potentially millions of dollars wasted. If an AI project goes off the rails,
Yeah. Reading that definitely made me sit up and pay attention.
yeah,
Like, wow,
it's scary.
this is serious stuff,
For sure.
you know? But even with all of that risk,
Right.
the article doesn't paint like a
Yeah.
doom and gloom picture.
I agree.
It offers some really practical advice on how to set yourself up
Totally.
for success.
Yeah, and one of the most important things that it says, which comes from this AI consultant, Andreas Welch, is that success shouldn't just be measured by your ROI.
Okay, so beyond ROI,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
It's about setting really clear and measurable goals
Okay.
right from the beginning,
Got it.
but not just thinking about the financial bottom line.
Okay, so beyond ROI,
Right.
give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you're trying to make your customer service better
Uh-huh.
with an AI chatbot.
Okay.
So instead of just thinking about how much money the chatbot's going to save you, you might want to look at things like customer satisfaction scores,
Yeah.
or how quickly the chatbot resolves issues,
Okay.
or even how much it reduces the workload on your human customer service team.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about getting really specific and measurable
Absolutely.
with those goals. But then how do you track those metrics?
Sure.
I mean, are we talking like fancy dashboards
Oh,
or just
yeah.
good old spreadsheets?
It depends
Right.
on the project, on what systems you have in place.
Yeah.
But the key is to have some kind of system, whatever it looks like,
Yeah.
to regularly monitor
Okay.
how you're doing against those goals that you already set.
So you're not just hoping for the best.
Right.
You're actively tracking it.
Exactly.
Like, is this thing actually delivering the value?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you've got a roadmap for your AI project.
Right.
And there are these checkpoints along the way to make sure you're still on the right track.
I like that. And this seems to tie into another point the article emphasizes,
Okay.
which is making sure that your AI project is actually solving
Yes.
a real business problem,
For sure.
not just being implemented for the sake of it.
Right. There's this great quote in the article from Kathy Gersh, who's from Cotter International.
Okay.
And she warns that projects that are disconnected
Yeah.
from real business needs just get abandoned.
Right.
It's like that saying, if you don't know where you're going,
Yeah.
any road will get you there.
Right.
So your AI needs to be tied to a clear destination.
You know, I've seen that firsthand, where a company gets all excited about AI.
Yeah.
They throw it at a problem that doesn't really need AI.
Right.
And then they're like, well, why isn't this working?
Yeah,
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
absolutely.
And that's where I think that collaboration between the tech people
Yes.
and the business people
Yeah.
becomes so crucial.
It's key.
Because they need to work together to figure out
Yeah.
what are those genuine pain points
Right.
that AI can actually address.
It's not just about having the coolest technology.
Really.
It's about using it in a way that makes sense for your business.
Totally. And I think that collaborative approach
Yeah.
also helps with that whole defining success piece we were talking about earlier.
Totally.
Right, where the business people can say, this is what success looks like.
Yes.
And then the tech people can figure out,
Yeah.
okay, well, how do we measure that?
It's a team effort, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got clear goals.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a solid business case.
Yes.
The article suggests something called time boxing
Okay.
to keep your project focused
Right.
and to avoid overinvesting.
I like it.
Time boxing, what is that?
It's like setting a time limit
Okay,
for an experiment.
got it.
This guy, Arijit Sengupta,
Yeah.
who's the CEO of Able,
Okay.
he argues that long, drawn-out pilot projects can lead to this thing called the sunk cost fallacy.
Oh, the sunk cost fallacy. I know that one.
Yeah, where you keep throwing resources at something that's not working.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Just because you already put so much into it.
Yeah, it's like staying in a bad movie.
Exactly.
Just because you already paid for the ticket.
But in the AI world,
Yeah.
because things change so fast, it can be even more costly to cling to a sinking project.
Right.
So time boxing helps you avoid that by setting a firm deadline to evaluate if it's actually worth it.
So instead of letting a project drag on for like months and months, you're saying, okay, we've got a month.
Right.
Let's see what we can do.
Exactly.
So it's like a pressure cooker for innovation.
It is. Able actually uses a 2-day
Wow.
viability assessment.
2 days.
2 days.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
It may sound super short,
Yeah.
but it makes them cut to the chase.
Right.
And decide,
to the heart of it.
is this worth it or not?
I bet that also helps to prevent people from getting too emotionally attached
For sure.
to the project and losing their objectivity.
Keeps things objective and beta-driven.
Right. But even with the best planning and time boxing, sometimes you just hit a roadblock, you know?
Of course.
And the article actually acknowledges this.
Yeah.
And it offers a really interesting analogy about mistaking wants for needs.
I love analogies.
All right, hit me with it.
Okay. Imagine that you are trying to come up with a new way to get around.
Okay.
You might think that you want a flying car.
Okay.
It's futuristic. It sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
But what if what you really need
Yeah.
is just a faster boat?
I've seen the picture here, so we get caught up in the hype of what sounds cool,
Yeah.
but we're losing sight of like the practical needs of what we're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah, that faster boat analogy is all about being flexible and adaptable with your AI projects.
Got it.
So maybe that big, amazing vision you had isn't really what's going to be beneficial, and we need to change our goals as we go.
So it's less about sticking to a plan.
Yes.
And more about being open to discovering what works.
Exactly.
Even if that means deviating from the original idea.
You got it. Sometimes those detours lead to the best discoveries.
That's true. So what happens when, after all this, a project just isn't working?
Yeah.
Do we always have to cut our losses and move on?
That's a great question.
Like, is it always game over for a struggling AI project?
Well, the article actually has a more nuanced take on this.
Okay.
Admiral Lieberman, who is the chief AI officer at Finastra.
Okay.
He thinks that we should pause a project.
Hold on. So pausing instead of quitting.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because things are changing so fast in AI that something that's impossible or too expensive today might be completely doable in a year or two.
So you're saying it's like hitting the pause button instead of the delete button.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about realizing that in AI,
failure
isn't always final.
Right.
It might just be a temporary setback
Okay.
or a chance to wait for the right technology to catch up.
That's actually a really hopeful way
I think there too.
to look at it.
Yeah.
And I imagine that applies to a lot of areas beyond just AI.
For sure.
Sometimes things just need a little time to mature.
Right. And even projects that don't hit their initial goals can still teach us a lot that we can use in the future.
It's like that saying, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have.
We talked about setting clear goals, tying projects to real business needs, using time boxing to stay focused, and even reframing the idea of failure.
I love that.
What are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners are walking away with today?
Well, you know, not every AI project is going to be a home run.
Of course.
But that's okay.
Right.
The important thing is to have a process so you can find potential problems early on.
Right.
And make good decisions about whether to keep going or change something.
Or to hit pause.
Or hit pause.
It's like having a game plan for navigating this whole AI landscape.
Exactly.
And a way to avoid those costly pitfalls that we talked about earlier.
For sure.
And remember, defining success is not just about the financial return.
Right.
It's about setting those really specific and measurable outcomes.
Yes, that are aligned with your business goals.
Exactly.
That's what will make your AI journey really impactful.
And sometimes that journey might include a few detours or pauses.
Totally.
But it doesn't mean you failed.
Right.
It's just part of the process.
It's all part of it.
I love that.
Me too.
So before we wrap up,
okay,
I want to leave our listeners with something to really chew on.
All right, I'm listening.
We talked about tying AI projects to business needs.
Yes.
But I'm curious, what about AI for good? Where do you see the biggest potential for AI to make a positive impact beyond the business world?
I think the potential is enormous.
Yeah.
Healthcare, education, climate change, poverty,
Wow.
AI can be a force for good in all of those areas.
I couldn't agree more. And that's something we'll have to explore
Definitely.
more in future deep dives.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back
Okay.
to our listeners today.
Mm-hmm.
We've given them a lot to think about
Yeah.
in terms of managing their AI projects.
That's for sure.
I'd like to leave them with a little challenge,
Okay.
a call to action,
All right.
inspired by that faster boat analogy.
Okay. I like it.
Think about the AI projects that you're working on right now,
Okay.
or the ones that you've seen in your company.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of them starting to look like that flying car?
Yeah. It's so easy to get swept up in the hype of all the cool new things.
Right.
And forget about what we actually need.
Exactly. And it's easy to look around and be like, well, everyone else is doing this.
We should too.
So we should too.
Right.
But we need to step back.
Absolutely. And say, hold on a second. Is this really what we need? Is this really going to help us achieve our goals?
Yes.
Not just our fantasies of being like super high tech.
Totally. And sometimes the smartest thing you can do is to choose that simpler, more practical option.
To pivot to that faster boat.
Yes, exactly.
It may not be as glamorous.
Right.
But it could be the key.
Yeah.
To actually getting where you want to go.
I agree.
So how do we know when it's time to pivot?
That's a good question.
What are some of the signs that maybe our flying car is actually a faster boat in disguise?
Well, that's where those metrics that we talked about earlier are really useful.
Okay.
If you're not seeing progress towards your goals, or if the costs are just outweighing the benefits, that's a sign that you might need to rethink what you're doing.
Okay.
It might be time to scale back, change your goals, or maybe even just put the project on hold.
Pause it.
Yes.
For a little bit. Exactly, until the technology catches up.
Right. It goes back to that idea of being flexible and adaptable throughout that AI journey.
It's not about being rigid.
Right.
It's about being willing to adjust.
Yeah. And course correct.
Exactly.
As you go.
And, you know, even if you do have to make the decision to stop a project,
Yeah.
it's not a failure.
Right.
It's a learning experience.
I like that.
It can help you make better decisions in the future.
Right. And it can ultimately lead you to more success.
It all adds to our knowledge of AI, what works and what doesn't.
That reframing of failure is really important.
For sure.
Because it's not an end.
Yeah.
It's a data point.
It is.
And in AI, where things change so quickly, those data points are like gold.
Absolutely. They're super valuable.
Okay. Well, on that note of embracing learning and adaptation, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive today.
Sounds good.
Into when to quit an AI project.
Great topic.
Hopefully you're leaving with some practical tools.
Yes.
And a fresh perspective on how to navigate this exciting and sometimes challenging world of AI.
It is. AI is definitely both exciting and challenging.
It definitely is. It's like it's a roller coaster.
That's a great analogy.
It is, right. It's got its ups and downs.
For sure.
It's got its twists and turns.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen next.
So you got to be prepared for anything.
You got to have the right mindset, the right strategies, and you have to be ready to make those tough calls.
You got to be brave.
You do. You have to be willing to say, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something else.
Right. Or to say, let's hit pause for now.
Exactly.
And come back to this later.
Yeah. If you can do that, you'll be able to use AI to make real progress.
Absolutely.
And to have a positive impact.
That's what it's all about.
It is.
Thanks for diving deep with us today, everyone.
It was a pleasure.
And until next time, keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep asking those tough questions.
These are great words to live by.
And hey, if you find yourself building a flying car, when all you really need is a faster boat, don't be afraid to make the switch.
Don't be afraid to pivot. Think about the AI projects you're working on right now and the ones that you've seen in your company.
Okay, I'm game.
Ask yourself, are any of them starting to look like that flying car?
That's such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in what's trendy or what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
But we really need to step back and make sure those AI initiatives are actually helping us reach our goals.
For sure.
Not just our fantasies of being super high tech.
Exactly.
Right.
And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to pivot to that faster boat approach.
It might not be as glamorous.
Right.
But it could be the key to getting where you want to go.
Absolutely.
So how do we know when it's time to pivot?
That's a good question.
What are some signs that our flying car might actually be a faster boat in disguise?
Well, that's where those clear metrics we talked about earlier come in.
Okay.
If you're not seeing measurable progress, or if it's costing way more than it's benefiting, it might be time to rethink things.
Okay.
Maybe scale back, adjust your goals, or even put the project on pause
Right.
until the technology catches up.
It all goes back to that idea of being flexible
Exactly.
and adaptable.
Yeah,
right?
it's a journey.
It is a journey.
You're going to have to adjust along the way.
Absolutely. And even if you have to make that tough decision
Yeah.
to completely stop a project, it's not a failure.
It's not.
It's a learning experience
Exactly.
that will inform your future AI projects
It all adds up.
and ultimately lead to more success.
It does.
Right.
For sure.
Every experiment, whether it's a success or a failure, is giving you more data to work with.
And that's what AI is all about.
I love that reframing
Me too.
of failure.
It's not an end, it's just information.
In AI, where things are constantly changing,
Yeah.
those data points are so valuable.
Super valuable.
Okay, well, on that note of embracing learning and adaptation,
Yes.
I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive
Okay, sounds good.
into when to quit an AI project.
It was a great discussion.
Hopefully you're leaving with some practical tools
Yeah.
and a fresh perspective on navigating the world of AI.
I hope so.
It's a wild world out there,
It is.
but it's also incredibly exciting.
It is. There's so much potential.
There is, so keep learning, keep experimenting,
Yes.
keep asking those tough questions.
Those are great words to live by.
And hey,
Yeah.
if you find yourself building a flying car, when all you really need is a faster boat,
Right.
don't be afraid to switch gears.
Don't be afraid to pivot.
Thanks for diving deep with us today, everyone.
It was a pleasure being here.
Until next time.